Grown Black Folks Talk, a correction from yesterday's video, more clarification on the Lust to Dust saga of Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, and how the devils are truly in the details. So first of all, I need to acknowledge the correction. I didn't have all the information straight about uh, the mother who sued Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco for defamation. I accidentally conflated her and her daughter. Trekstar Sam came through with a correction. Thank you very much to Trekstar Sam. And I'm actually going to show it to you because it's actually kind of important. When you understand just how bad that these men behaved on their way to getting their heads handed to them in court, in a settlement, having to pay to settle out, most likely. When you understand how bad it is, it puts a new spin, and there's a couple of more information that I need to also give relative to this. Okay, so like I said, Trekstar Sam came through with the correction. Trekstar Sam 2494. If y'all want to check out the channel, you can actually just go to the previous video and you'll be able to just click through to her channel. But she said she had a correction. Hey Deanne, great video, just a correction. The mother who was suing Chad Ochocinco and Shannon has a daughter she homeschooled, and the homeschool daughter received her doctorate at the age of 17. She's grown now. Keep that in mind. Because remember, Shannon Sharp likes him young. 19. So he always is going to be wanting young women to be available at ages that are young enough so that he thinks he can have his way with them. Of course, now the young lady who retired from OnlyFans showed that just because a person, the teenager, doesn't know, they don't know how to play you. But just keep this in mind, okay? The mother was called up to the stage to be serenaded by Usher. Keep that in mind. And Shannon Ochocinco saw the video of that, probably because she was a middle-aged black woman they weren't attracted to, decided to clown her and make up lies saying her husband left her by all the time she wasn't married. Therefore, she decided to sue both of them for defamation. Club Shay Shay is indeed sharp as he does not own the platform he runs it on. If the platform pulls the rug, he pulls the plug, he's done. Thanks for the shout out. Thank you for the clarification. Now, I do have another little note here. A member of our community who's trained back baby's been with me a long time found out the name is Miss Tillman. She actually knows the woman, Miss Tillman, involved. So this is one of those stories that's actually not that many degrees of separation away from yours truly. Now, let's go through some details, shall we? Because this makes it worse than what I thought it was. This illustrates a lot. It's like Kai Alabi also left a comment on here as well. And so many red flags. Celebs are role models. They're red flags wrapped in fame. I hope men and women listen to your warnings. Well, okay, the red flags are bigger than we thought. So, first of all, Miss Tillman, we find it is the name of his mother, homeschooled her daughter through to a doctorate degree. And also from Train Pack Baby, we know that she's producing plays. This is a highly intelligent, accomplished black woman. And Usher put her on, probably in recognition of the work that this woman has done. I haven't done initial research to know that. But Usher felt that she was important enough in what she's accomplished in her life, or it just happened to be someone that Usher chose. It could be either one. But why did Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco suddenly decide to lash out at this woman they don't know and that they're not attracted to and decide to clown her and make up a whole story about her life? How did they set up her daughter's generational wealth? How did they let themselves get into this position? Okay, I need to explain something to you. It's a mistake that black women online make a lot, and it's because we have no way of understanding this unless you do a little study. Everybody wants to call these men gay and all the rest. No, it's not homosexuality, it's homosocial behavior. Let me explain. I know about this only because I've studied classical music and therefore opera. And Wagner is the composer to study to see this played out. This man left the women on the floor dead multiple times in his biggest, best known operas. Because in the societies that he described, and it's a society that men like Shannon Sharp and Ohocinco want the admiration of, women are there for pleasure or procreation. Once you age past that, you're of no value unless you are actually serving them. This is actually stated in Parsifal country. She's trying to work her way toward redemption once we get past the first act by service. This is actually explicitly stated. And there's only one character in that opera, Gurnemanz, who even knows who Christ is. And he goes out of his way twice to save this woman's life, if memory serves. It's a 5 hour, 4 or 5 hour opera. But when the Holy Grail is discovered and Parsifal is discovered, his person is lifted, and the men have their lives back together, country just falls to the floor and goes on home to be with the Lord because she's no longer needed on earth. Her whole goal in life, she at least country gets to be redeemed. I will give her that, but I'm just saying that's not the only time that happens. Wagner describes societies of men that only see women for procreation and pleasure and to be villains to explain the fall of other men. He describes a society in literature probably better than any other musician. You see it in other operas, but it's just naked and open. And if you consider how much inspiration Wagner gave to the Nazis and how much inspiration the Nazis got from the Confederacy, which operated the same way, and understand how much inspiration that black men who act in this way are also receiving from that side of the ideological spectrum, it starts to make sense. What you have are societies of men that are only interested in the viewpoints and the admiration of other men. This is why you have LeBron James fans writing love songs to him. Yeah, there's an R&B love song written by a man for LeBron James. These are not necessarily homosexual. It has nothing to do with who they may or may not be having sex with. LeBron James is married to Savannah James, beautiful woman. Shannon Sharp clearly is interested in women. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that, as the Bible says, even faced with knowing that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, certain people in a religious structure then only wanted the honor and praise of men over the honor and praise of God. There's also levels to this. Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco have passed the period in their life where they can walk into a stadium and have tens of thousands of people cheering for them and have millions of people across the country and across the world cheering for them. Usher is not. So there's levels to this. They would like to be, I'm sure that they miss that admiration that they receive from the public. I've heard many athletes talk about you're supposed to cherish it when you have it because when it's over, it's over. It's devastating. When black men talk about, when I listen to black men being talked about, you past your prime. Do you notice they talk about women, she's past her prime at 30? No, the men that they admire as athletes are past their prime at 30. I was listening to talking about conversations about basketball players who at 35 are considered to be breaking down at that point. It's amazing that LeBron James is 40 and can still play basketball. And everybody makes excuses for the fact that, like everybody else who's getting a little bit older, your physical capacity declines. I'm 44. I know a little bit of something about that. That's natural. That's called aging. But you're finished as an athlete at 40. And therefore, if your entire existence is predicated on having the admiration and respect of other men based on your athletic prowess, life ends at 40. Meanwhile, a musician like Usher is seen as a man who can make women ready for sexual activity at any age, because many musicians can have that kind of voice that can work with the emotions to a level that athletes cannot. So to see this middle-aged woman that they don't want being recognized by Usher, who is a more powerful man who has stages that they will never command again, that is likely, given the homosocial, not homosexual. It's important that you understand these distinctions, and I'll get to why in a minute. Nature of men who admire the type of men who got away for centuries with just treating women as chattel. For men who want to do that, and we can safely say, at least about Shannon Sharp, that this is how he operates. This is why he's had to settle not one. What did LeBron say about how many championships is he gonna win in Miami? Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven. Mr. Shannon Sharp has settled not one, not two, a bunch. If you go back and you look, at least two recently, but there's more out there. If you go back and you look, this has followed him around. He would like to be able to have disposable women. The problem is What happens in today's time is they don't get away with it. The men like Shannon Sharp are not big enough in the world to get away with it. They're just not. When you make $22.3 million a course of your career, but at least around 22, and you can get jacked up for 23 by a woman who's about 23 years old, no, you're not powerful enough. And to see a man like Usher, who has more access, who still commands the stage, who still commands the audience, giving love to this woman that they would not want any part of their lives, neither being for pleasure nor procreation, what they did was turned around and attacked her to try to bring her down to their level. Talk about, well, she can't keep a man. Her husband left her, made up all this different stuff. And by the way, you know what she did in being able to raise a daughter who could be a doctor at 17? That also means that her daughter is going to be the kind of young woman, no matter how beautiful she is, that's never going to give the time of day to Shannon Sharp or Chad Ochocinco. So not only is she an abomination for being a middle-aged black woman, being recognized by the kind of man they would like to be, and being admired in front of the world, which they cannot be anymore, even though it's temporary. It's not like she's being sung to every day, but they cannot get access to that level of admiration. The fact that Usher showed that level of respect, and from because again, to them, what matters is what the man thinks. So the fact that Usher chose to show that amount of respect, it still has nothing to do with who she is or isn't. That's not even important. The important part is that a man who commands stages that they cannot command decided to do that for a woman that they feel is not worthy. Not only did she do that, she made it so her daughter's not accessible to men like them. And then, of course, now they'll run their mouth, and she went out here and took generational wealth from them to give to her daughter. The Lust to Dust saga was deeper than I thought. But you have to understand homosocial behavior among these type of black men. It doesn't just exist among black men. It's observed in John chapter 12 in the Bible. Literally, the Bible talks about there were people in a religious structure who knew that Jesus was indeed the Messiah, but they refused to confess him. They refused to come out about it because the Bible says because they love the praise of men more than they love the praise of God, which basically means they knew it and they ignored it. They chose to go straight to hell to keep the favor of their associates. That's what that means. When Jesus says in John 8, ye shall die in your sins, that's who he's talking to. You're not the only people he's talking to, but that's who you're talking to. When you know what good is, but to please your boys, you continue to do the foolery. Lust to dust. Lust for the praise of men. And mad because some woman is getting what you can't get. Mad because some woman is being recognized for this man's millions of fans that you can't access like that. Mad because it's a woman that you would be okay with it if it was her daughter and she was sexually attractive. You would be more okay with it, at least. This is the same behavior that Jesus' own disciples were demonstrating because Mary broke that alabaster box, and that was 300 denarius. That's a year's wage at those days, about that. And she put it on Jesus and didn't spend any of that money on them. Judas started the foolery because he was stealing what was in the bag and got the other disciples to go along with it. Same thing. They don't see the value of any woman who is not able to give them what they want in life. That's the kind of culture that you see in the Bible that men were living through. And of course, the Lord Jesus shut that down. But Shannon Sharp is someone talking about, I want a sinner. So we understand who we're dealing with here. We understand that we are dealing with men who are Shannon Sharp, according to athletics, is 20 years past his prime. I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. 15 maybe if you extend it to 40. I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules. I hear this every day as black men talk about black men in sports talking about 30 is about the end of your prime. 30, maybe 32, 33, 34. After this, you aging 40, you basically done. And it's so amazing that LeBron is doing what he's doing because he's clearly way, way, way past his prime. His longevity is why we should consider him as the GOAT because basically life ends at 40. The Lakers have just reminded him that he don't matter no more. And so he's out here taking pictures in front of the Clipper stuff because he mad. Because he just found out he wasn't different from anybody else. A black man's life who only has athletic prowess, his life is over at 40. You will never get that kind of attention and admiration ever again. And in a culture that is homosocial and loves the praise of men enough to countenance evil, loves the praise of men enough to make up stories about women that don't even know to try to make themselves feel better because a woman received the honor that they want from men at Usher's level. When you become nobody, that's sad. So then you go out there and you pick up 19-year-olds who then take you to the cleaners, trying to feel like you somebody again. And just because a black woman closer to my age got recognized by a man who's an audience you can't touch, let yourself get ripped out of more money. For the record, she was single. She was never married. She did all that and got all that recognition without needing to kiss up to any man whatsoever. And got her daughter where she needed to go and wrote plays that Train Pack Baby was in and did all this underneath no man whatsoever. Obviously, there was man somewhere. She has a daughter. But the point is, homosocial societies where men worship other men cannot deal with a Ms. Tillman. But Ms. Tillman went to the more powerful homosocial society that sees black men as a lower form, went to them and got them to avenge her. Because, see, that's the other thing. Powerful men do not sit around gossiping and making up stories about women. Powerless men do that. Past their prime, post wall, too old. That's that kind of behavior there. They don't have to sit around and make up stories about people. They're out there doing the darn thing. Like Usher is out there putting up on stage whoever he wants, whenever he wants, and having the adoration of his fans doing it. And getting middle-aged black women who homeschool their daughters and have them having doctorate degrees and out of the way of no good aging fools at 17. And there's nothing. They paid to get out of their place and got put back. And there's nothing that they can do about it. It's done. And they hate that because in a homosocial society, the thing that's going to hurt you the most as a man is for more powerful men to let you know on behalf of women that you despise that you are not respected, you are not loved, and you can be eaten up as a chattel. Tony Busby, got him. Whoever was in the court system for Miss Tillman, got him. And all of this could have been avoided. They didn't know this woman. They didn't have to do all that. But again, because of the way homosocial male behavior is, women receiving honor from higher level men that they want honor from is a problem. I don't know if they know Usher like that, but I'm just saying the fact that he still has the big crowds, he still has the eyes, and he chose to put a woman that they can't see any use for on. When we get back to the zero knowledge thing, I found a zero knowledge Christian in the wild, and his behavior is exactly the same behavior. Demanding benefits from a higher status man who chose to bless single mothers. Same exact behavior. The difference is Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco, of course, don't claim to be Christians. So, of course, we can't hold them at the standard that you would hold somebody who claims to be an apostle. But it is exactly the same behavior. It is the same behavior as the Pharisees and the Sadducees in Jesus' time, who knew right from wrong, who will go along with the murder of an innocent man because they love the praise of men more than they love the praise of God. It is the behavior of men in Wagnerian operas. It is the behavior of men in the Confederacy, and it is the behavior of men in Nazi Germany, and it is the behavior of a goodly number of American men. Why am I telling you this? Because, ladies, I need you to be careful. I need you to watch out. If you want to know where your man's head is at about women in general and about his place in society, show him a middle-aged black woman being honored and watch his body language. It will tell you everything about him. It will tell you where he feels he ranks. Because if you truly feel that you're doing well in life, someone else being honored is not going to bother you. But if a black woman who's fat past childbearing age is being honored and big upped, and this man's body language tells you he has a problem with that, you're going to find out everything you need to know about where this man is in life. It is an, it never fails. It never fails because men of this type only see women who pleasure and procreate as valuable. And they will never be able to get Miss Tillman to do that. So how dare she be recognized? She didn't choose that. How dare she be recognized by that man? Now they're not gonna sit up here. Now you notice they didn't make fun of Usher. They didn't make up a story about him. They know they can't. They're cowards. They're weak. And then found out they were weaker than Miss Tillman because Miss Tillman had a sense to go and get some men that could keep them in line and got them in line. Lust to dust, but this time the lust for significance that you can't get. I just pause at the unnecessary nature of all of this. A big thank you to Trek Star Sam because I honestly didn't know it was this bad. But I'm glad, thank you for the correction because I really was able to then kind of look at, okay, why did they get ticked off? Oh, okay, I've studied this. I know what's going on now. And now I can make sense of a whole lot of other foolery that's happening as well. Find out how your man thinks about middle-aged black women being honored. You will find out everything you need to know about whether you are safe. By the way, that doesn't matter what woman you are, by the way, because again, men of this mindset, Wagner's not talking about black women. He's talking about German women. You know, literally, he leaves them on the floor so often. Not all the time. But even one of his better operas where things actually work out. Wait a minute, how many? I'm just sitting up here. How many times? Even one of some of his better operas have women in positions that they don't really want to be in, but it's just fortunate that he does occasionally have some characters like, no, I'm not going to do this with you. I'm going to help you get to the right outcome with the right man. But again, they have no existence outside of that. Almost every time. I haven't seen all of the Wagnerian operas, obviously. I haven't even studied all of them, maybe about 8 or 9. Seen enough, if you will. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. And when black men decide that they want to be Europeans in their mindset, they always copy the worst sides of the behavior. Every time. As a unit. There are exceptions to the rule, obviously. But as a unit, they tend to imitate the worst. And the worst is this homosocial women of chattel behavior. And when a woman is in a position to be honored as a human being who's valuable by a higher level man, they flip their wig. The cognitive dissonance of the lies that they believe versus reality start beating them up. And then they make mistakes. And then reality with a capital R comes and gets them in some form or another. What folks are going to learn how to do is just because Mr. Trump is in office doesn't mean you can get away with everything with black women. Let Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco be a lesson to you. Doesn't mean you can get away with everything from Latin women, Latinas. You can. let Miss Retire from OnlyFans be a lesson to you. If you are weak and you are insecure and you are essentially powerless and you are past your athletic prime and you never developed your mind enough to be able to keep up, you're going to try it on the wrong woman who has developed it and you're going to get hurt. Just understand ain't nothing changed but the name of the president. There is no reason to play these games. Ladies, there is no reason to let these men play these games with you. Nope. Nope. These men are now out here handing out money to black women for their generation and handing out generational money to their preferences too. It's like paying everybody for the privilege to be stupid. But you do not need to be part of the stupidity. Because I know that the young lady who was the OnlyFans model paid it, could have been killed. You're a big, strong man choking you for his pleasure. It's too high a price. You don't need that. Not for any amount of money. You're not on sale. A lot of these men think you are. And then find out the price was way too high. How you gonna walk on out here and lose 120 million plus in 4 months? But you don't even have to go through, just don't even go through the drama. It's not necessary. As the Bible says, mark them and avoid them. Anytime a man is upset because a woman is getting honor from another man that he can't reach or feels like he can't reach, I'm actually pretty sure that if Shannon Sharp wanted to talk to Usher, he could at least make a phone call. There's not that much of a gap between them. But now, Usher and everybody who has any sense of music is like, nah, player, you a liability. You and Chad, you guys are a liability. You ain't had sense enough to just let me do what I do because, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. There's another video to be done about how lust of dust closes doors that you can't get reopened. And that's true of everybody, whether your lust is for flesh or for status or money, and you just let yourself go too far. People who actually know how to handle themselves with a little discipline, they may not ever tell you, but they just like, nope, let me just correct you off the list here, 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 and here. People, I do that daily. And once you get off, unless the Lord tells me, you're not getting back on, and that's everywhere. I don't necessarily want to see Shannon Sharp go bankrupt, but he's on his way. He can't find some way to bring in some income with ESPN being like, nope, he got settlements to pay. I don't want to go bankrupt. Duh. Take from this just knowing, like I said, understand that what you're seeing is not people are so quick to call people gay. No, there's something much more involved. Homosocial societies are much more involved than that. It has nothing to do with who anybody has sex with. It has to do with literally you have people who can know what God requires. And because they want the aberration and affirmation of other men more, they will ride right off into hell. They are male worshiping men, but it's a peer group thing. They're not even picking necessarily gods above themselves. There's not a male god in this situation. They worship at each other's stupidity. Just know that that's what's more of what's going on than anybody particularly being gay. That can be part of it, but it's not so much sexuality as it is a way of handling a culture in which women only exist as long as they're providing pleasure or procreation. That's it. Are in a position of doing just menial service. When you hear black men talking about does she cook, does she clean, and what do her children provide to me? That's part of that conversation. When you hear black men talking about women hit the wall at 30, no, that's them talking about themselves as athletes. But that's where that comes from. When you hear men getting upset because what way black women are winning in life without them, that's where that comes from. I'm just telling you that's what's going on. Be aware, and when you see signs of it, disengage, avoid. Bless block, change the locks. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Goodbye.